Okay, I'm filming a video for the YouTube. I'm still using my laptop. I don't have like a camera or whatever at the moment. I don't know. So how's everybody doing? I'm just gonna lay here. Okay, so I moved into the master. Oh, there's Callie. Callie's here. Okay, how's everybody doing? Okay. So, so. Thanksgiving. Everybody have a good Thanksgiving. Everybody loving that? Very good. Very well. Very well. I had a good one too. I got to chill. I just kind of like meditated. I do like a lot of sound meditation and healing stuff. The weather here is like pretty shitty right now. I mean, I like it. It's like cold and overcast and gray. Um, I mean, I feel I've been going off on threads. Like everybody knows that, right? Okay, we're all on the same page. Okay, cool. Are you guys liking threads? Everybody's doing like the women for women. Everybody's doing their little follow train pods or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. That reminds me of the coaching industry. Like, join my Facebook group and do all this stuff. And yeah, I mean, I did all that. It was like a useful tool at the time, but now it's like social media is so different. It's so different and it changes so quickly and like people don't understand that either. It's like we're all living in these like different realities and most people like can't discern because it's just like a one-to-one world for them. They're like, "Oh, this is on that, so that is real." Everything that's on a screen, that means that. Okay, the internet's kind of like just like the consciousness test of like, okay, do people actually like know? And it's like, no, they don't. I feel like I talked about a lot of cool stuff on my threads. I touched on, Sharon Tate, JFK. Talked about like Robert De Niro, Made in America, that movie, how that reminded me of like Ralph. Okay, so that's Maureen's dad. And then, I have the other ancestors too. We have Harold and Bill and Obama and Lorraine or whatever Ralph's wife's name is. I don't remember all the stuff. They used to talk more about that stuff when it was little because I think they're like, oh, they won't remember. They'll just forget. Because, like, I was just, everybody just tells me stuff because it's like I'm a natural healer. So they're like, oh, I'll just tell her, my life story or whatever. That'll be fine. I'm like, okay, sure. I'm like, is this still filming? Okay, it is still filming. I forgot this was filming. I could honestly take like a nap right now. I just cleared so much. Okay, so I am a 5D Ascended Master. I have died like 3 times. The first one when I was 2, and then one when I was like 21, at the Southport apartment. And then my final time when I was 27, because past life memories. Pretty sure I died when I was 27 in a past life, okay? And then that's right in time for your Saturn return, which is usually about 28 to 30. So that's when you become who you are. And then, what else? Saturn returns. So Saturn is the planet of karma. That's like time, Kronos, the father, like the all father. So that's my energy. I have a stellium. I have basically like a double stellium in Capricorn if we're in the west. If we're in the east in Vedic, that would be a fire sign. So it kind of just depends. Here's the thing also about spirituality and the universe and quantum physics is that everything is relative, okay? So, like, even though you may be like, I'm so this, okay, well, what if you're on the other side of the world? Then what would you be? You know what I mean? And then that's just the same thing as consciousness in yourself. Okay, so you think you're your light, but then what is your shadow? Because you have a shadow. If you didn't have a shadow, you wouldn't exist, right? How can something that exists not have a shadow in the 3D reality? And then from a, higher 5D or spiritual perspective, translating that into what that means. From an Eastern perspective, the yin yang symbol, okay, that's balance, okay, Taoism. So that represents two fish that are in continuous motion, okay? Just as the universe and the world is also always in continuous motion. That's also the nature of reality and energy in yourself. Everything's always moving. Your blood is pumping even when you're laying down, okay? If you really think about it, there's really not that much you can control in the world. And it's not like you're like, God or whatever. So it's just, everybody just needs to take a chill in the West, okay? Because here's the thing, too many cooks in the kitchen, like too much shit going on, that's how you ruin it. That's what people don't understand. They're like, oh, I want to make some like magic, or like, I want to do this like whatever, so cool. And then it's like, okay, well, if you just show it to everyone, or like just let everybody get like their filthy paws in it, then what do you think's gonna happen? It's like it's contaminated, it's ruined, it's tainted. So that's another thing with social media and technology. People, okay, we already didn't have privacy. Now we really don't have privacy, okay? If you're actually aware of, technology in the world and surveillance and monitoring, it's like, whatever. Whatever. Most people just tune stuff out, that's what I used to just ignore stuff, and I'm just like, okay, well, trying. I'm trying here. Um, but one of the most important things to always remember is to choose love, okay? Even when you're not feeling your brightest or your best, or like, whatever. Also, that's very unrealistic and impractical to think that you're going to be happy all the time. Like, what are you on? You know what I mean? It's like, are you on like a ton of shit and you're just not telling me? Because I'm like, that's not. When has anyone in history ever been happy all the time? Like, that's another side effect of American media. Like, people take it so, like, literally and seriously. It's like, oh, I saw a movie, or I saw, like, Disney, and now that means that, like, that's my life, or, like, that's my life template, and I'm gonna, be a princess or whatever. I'm not a Disney adult, okay, but Disney was a huge part of my childhood and trauma and memory. Like, my first period was at Disney World. I thought I was dying. And then I used to have all the VHS tapes, and I sold that at one of our garage sales. I sold all of them. And then actually, autism people, Asperger's people, really love Disney and like animation. So that's just another tie into that. I also live in Florida, so that's another thing. And then my ex fiance's, dad is like an inventor and engineer. His technology is like key for the rides at Disney, so they had like, the all access passes and stuff there. So, Disney's just been a part of my life. And like, one of my ex fiancés reminded, he was like the old fashioned Mickey Mouse, like on a boat. Like, that was Christian to me. And he'd like whistle, and he would do like the little voice too. He like actually like really sounded like him. Um, so, part of growing up and part of like being American, being an adult, is like understanding that, Disney and all that stuff, like, that's not real, okay? And then the stories that like most of the Disney princesses are based on, like fairy tale stuff, those weren't like bright and happy love stories, okay? Like, Brothers Grimm are like fairy tales. So I'm not here to like rain on anyone's parade or like dampen their joy or anything, but it's like, at the same time, like, get a grip. Like, it's all commercialism. I mean, if you actually knew how they designed Disney World, it's like they pick a certain color for this reason. They have these certain smells for this reason. They laid it out like IKEA, so you're in there. You know, it's like you're the little like rat or mouse in the maze in the labyrinth of like money, and you're just like, here, God, just like take advantage of me. You know? Castles are made out of stones. You know, those big stones, stone masonry. Like, you wouldn't have, like, the Disney castle is made out of stones. It's stone masonry, okay? That's a lost art. I mean, Grandpa knew how to do that because he was an architect and he built the neighborhood that they lived in. And the family crest, the family German crest, is a lion. Grandpa used to own a ton of land in Dayton, Ohio, you know, big wig. 2008 recession was unkind to that business and industry. Never fully really recovered after that. Um, you know, and then no one else in the family really, you know, was leading the charge on, you know, fixing that or whatever. I mean, I stay out of everybody's business. I'm like, I don't need to be involved. Like, I don't ask questions about other people really. It's like, oh, how are they doing? What's going on with them? You know, like fill the conversation gaps at dinner where it's just like, I don't want to be here. This is so fucking just like played out and like awkward and just like every dinner. I don't need you to bring up one, finances, two, healthcare, and like three, insurance, and like four, your retirement plan, and five, you know, all your negativity. So no, you just keep that to yourself. Um, yeah, I mean, being here just showed me exactly the reasons of, you know, why I haven't been able to like live a full life is because of them, because they're holding me back. And then another thing is, if I were like, I can't, for me it was never an option. It was like, oh, just run away and just whatever. That's not gonna happen, okay? Because they're just gonna talk so much shit, and they're just gonna bring everything, like it would be like, you know, Britney Spears level bullshit, which is like, I also knew that. So I'm like, I'm not gonna be famous. Like, everybody's just gonna fucking ruin it for me. It's not even worth it. You know, like, I don't want to like try to do that and then have everybody just, you know, like, that's so not what I want. Like, that's not my vibe. So, while everyone else was, you know, cashing out on fame land and whatever, I am trying to do things correctly and by the book and whatever, old fashioned. But here's the thing: everything in the Western world is all flip flopped. Okay, everything that you think is like established was like established in the 1920s. Okay, so that was like 100 years ago. Okay, and then like think about honestly, how was the country created? You know, I use that loosely. Created. Okay. So everything that everyone holds dear to them, it's like, okay, well then why don't you actually ask the people who served in Vietnam how that was for them and what they like really think, you know? And there's a huge communication breakdown and gap between, you know, the nuclear family, you know, the 1950s, that idyllic, what is it? Not Rothschilds, the whatever one. You know, Grandpa has the book. It's like white picket fence, green lawn, blah blah blah. Yeah, I mean, of course it's going to be appealing to like the Germans and the Europeans that just like are trying to escape World War II. Like, yeah, they're going to want that. You know what I mean? It's like, if you look back at your ancestry here, were your grandparents the immigrants, or was it the great grandparents? You know, it's like you don't go back that far here. So it's like the whole like you know, unspoken racism and like, I'm so American and I'm so this and I'm so that and whatever. It's like, okay, so are you bragging that you like, you know, your ancestors were slave owners, or that they were like in the mob, or like what are you trying to say here? Because, like, that's what people don't, ever talk about. But it's like, that's history, so, And it's also a lot of abuse and a lot of, like, it's just not good energy. Because it's like, who is anybody to suppress or repress anybody else? It's like, you're a human, I'm a human. It's like, you're a meat suit, I'm a meat suit, and, like, with bones, okay? Like, that's your physical vessel. Your physical vessel is your chariot, okay? Your chariot is your Merkaba, okay? Your body is a vehicle, okay? Which is what Chinese medicine and Eastern medicine understands, okay? Everything is moving together, or if it's not working together, then there's disharmony. There's no ease, there's dis-ease, okay? So actually, the wisest and most practical thing is to be relaxed, is to be calm, and is to be loving. However, why is nobody doing that? Why does everyone think that they have to, be popular? It's like high school's over. But now it's not with social media, and all the people that weren't cool in high school now have to overcompensate and be really cool online. I see it all the time. So that's how I can tell. I'm like, okay, okay, are you like a cool person? Are you like nice? Are you like genuine? And then I can see the mirrors. I can see the surfaces that reflect. Because it's like yourself, it's like what your, community or like your family and friends think, and then it's like the other pane or glass is the external world or like digital world, and everybody that doesn't know you but like quote unquote knows you know what I mean? And then all of that mixes together, so that's like a triangle of perception, you know what I mean? So I think a lot of like mental illness has to do with like identity issues, and with people being so quick to judge, when at a soul level, who are you to judge anyone? Like, that's your toxic ego speaking of like, I can suppress or dominate or whatever you, okay? And so I also learned about that in college, psychoanalysis class, Freud and Jung, okay? So that's about your ego, your id, which is your unconscious or subconscious, your ego, which is your conscious mind, like this mind that I am speaking right now, and then superego is the society or culture that you're raised in, and that's related to, parents or authority figures. So there, even the Germans acknowledge there are at least 3 layers of self. So that's what Americans don't acknowledge. And now, when we talk about modern therapy and psychology, that is mixed with psychiatry and pharmaceuticals as well, along with like insurance and all that stuff. So it's all a mixed bag, people. But here's the thing, I was ready to seek help. I wanted to. And I had told Linda and Guy that I thought I needed therapy. So Linda sent me the link for me to find a therapist, but I never did that. I was just like I was like, I know I need help, but I don't think therapy is the way for me, because I had so many people in therapy and they never got better. They just get pills or they just talk about the same bullshit, and then they like bond with their therapist as their friends. I'm like, okay, like whatever you need to do that, but like for me that's not healthy, so I'm not going to do that. So I sought healing in alternative ways. Reiki certification. I actually got my first Reiki certification before I had ever had a real like Reiki healing session, which is kind of weird, but that was just all intuition based. And I learned about Reiki when I was 22. And so all of that was reprimanded, and I got yelled at for trying to learn about Hinduism and Islam and like just read and Buddhism and like reading books about stuff. Linda would actually, she actually, there were so many fights about stupid shit. They said I couldn't dye my hair. We had to sit down. I've almost been kicked out of the family multiple times too. That happened in college because I wasn't excited enough to see them, you know, post all of the years of abuse in Switzerland and then early childhood. I've never liked them, and they've always had issues, and nobody else really likes them because they don't know them. They just hang out with people on a superficial level because they're, you know, they're lonely. That's what people do. You know, people are communal in nature, you know, but at the same time I'm a shaman, so it's like that's not me. Like I've always had friends and been like very, you know, popular or whatever, so I don't really, I don't know, it's, I don't need to overcompensate in that area. I think people, I would use people as distractions, you know, like hanging out with friends, that's a distraction from my spiritual path. You know, I would use that as like an outlet of like, oh, I'll go like be social and do that instead of like focusing on myself and healing myself. So, you know, that's another reason why I had to make that move. Like when I felt like I needed to move, I was like, I know I have to. And then before I moved, I was thinking, I was like, am I gonna do Florida or California? In my mind, I always thought I'd end up in California. Um, and I've been to California many times and helped people move to California. I've had offers to move to California. I just didn't take it at the time. I don't know. You know, COVID was a weird time. I think I also knew like I need to heal my shit before I try and like take that step. You know what I mean? Like I had to go through everything like head on, you know? Because the condos, the family, this is the childhood home. Because we don't have a childhood home because we moved so many times. And then we got this place when I was in 8th grade. And then Bill stayed here too. I mean, the family has, some of the families stayed here. Only Guy's side of the family though, not Linda's. That's another thing. So, I don't know. You know, it's like Nana and Pop visited us in Switzerland, but then when Bink was like, "Oh, hey, I'm in Europe. Like, should I come visit?" They were like, no. So I don't know. There's also always like unspoken family stuff where I'm just like, I don't know what's going on here. I try and be nice to everybody, and then people just take advantage of me or talk shit or make up lies, and you know they just like to talk about it because it makes them feel better or whatever. I'm like, you're fighting by yourself because like whatever. Um, I've dealt with so many like bullies and like mean adults and children throughout my entire life, so it's just, I'm like, oh, there's just another, you know, miserable person that needs love, you know. And it's like I can't do anything for you. Like you have to choose self love. Like, you know, I'll appear in people's life to inspire that, but it's like, you know, you're the only one that can do the inner work. And I've done my inner work. I've done so much inner work, which is why I'm like, okay, I actually can work with anybody because I have like done all of the things in healing because I was like, I need as much fucking help as I can get. Like, and I don't think that pills are gonna solve my problem or like talking to, you know, a random therapist would do it for me. I think that would do good for everyone else in the family, but I have way more complicated shit, and you can only talk about some things in therapy, you know what I mean? And it's like my past lives, I don't know, I could have been Jung's like little girl patient who he would dream psychoanalysis, analysis, and analyze, and then he would also like molest or rape her. So, I mean, I've said this before, but why is therapist the rapist? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, that's weird. Like, you could change it. Like, just change it to something else. Um, I think the therapists these days are like the secular priests, for confession or whatever. It's like, yeah, you can talk to me about your stuff. That's great. I didn't want to just do that. I'm like, I want healing. Like, fix my cells and like everything. You know what I mean? Um, I also had friends who were therapists, and I would help them and coach them too. So, I'm not like completely just being like, oh, Western therapy is nothing. Like, no, like, I understand they're meeting people at their levels, and, there's limits to things, and it's bureaucracy stuff, but like, people need that. You know what I mean? We all have unique needs that just didn't meet my unique needs. And that's also how I know, like, I'm a healer. Who else thinks that they're a healer? But they're in, like, a different career path because, like, healing isn't, like, a thing here. You know what I mean? It's not, like, cool or glam. But now it's getting more so because of Instagram and the coaching industry, right? Yeah, so it's like, well, you gotta watch out for the bandwagons. I'm also always weary of like people who are like, I'm the best, I'm the number one. Because I had a past life where that mindset is like British royalty. Because I had a royal past life in that thing. I had a reader tell me about that, and it was a whole thing with like a bad marriage. It was a political marriage, and my dad in that lifetime had me be like a spy for him, for the kingdoms in the realm or whatever. But then like my husband's parents like liked me or whatever, so then they took me as like their confidant or whatever. So it was just, I'm like, I don't know what I'm like, what the fuck, you know what I mean? So that was a thing. The British take on royalty is not the same as the indigenous take on royalty, or like the European take on royalty. It's not about monarchy. It's about divinity within a 3D meat casing. Okay, like Egypt. The Brits were super into Egypt. Everyone was super into Egypt. Egypt's problem was that they didn't have protection or like self defense. They didn't like they weren't able to protect the beauty or the oasis. They were just like, we built it, but they didn't like fortify it. You know what I mean? Because I don't think that was in their awareness. I don't think they were like, oh, let's go steal from everybody and loot everybody. Like, that wasn't their consciousness, but that was the consciousness of the European invaders. So, that's telling, is it not? The conquerors tell history, or whatever that saying is, to the victors go the spoils, to the victors write history, or whatever. It's like, yeah, false narratives are everywhere. And then people just eat it up, just lap it up. Just do, yeah, whatever you tell me is real. I'm like, yeah, that's normal. So I kind of do things like the opposite way of other people. Like, to them, it would be like backwards or counterintuitive, but to me, it's forwards and completely intuitive. For example, most people are like, let me just rush to fame and be like the biggest or whatever. I'm like, no, let me get like my foundations, like my bearings straight before I try and like, have some internet or like it's just a bunch of strangers that don't know me who now know me. Like that's what that celebrity thing or fame is like when you put yourself out there for something. Like it doesn't matter what it is. Like if it's art or music or coaching or healing or whatever, like to put yourself out there fully. And so, I mean, I've been like attacked and whatever, people just want to break down me and what I do and everything, and it just doesn't even make sense. It's just like it's just pure jealousy and insecurity and just like ego. Like I'm like I just I mean I'm like not the problem. Like I'm trying like I've helped. It's always the people that I help the most, and then it's like boom they flip on me. And I'm like all right, I'm out. I don't want to deal with that. I'm like, that's not. You're just making like issues out of your own shit, and that's what it is. Um, I mean, it's easy to post, your image on social media and paint a picture of whatever, whatever. But then it's like, is that's not real, It's like your feed is your cardboard cutout for most people. Like most people, their feed or their internet thing is like their mask. It's like, oh, look at what a good person I am. Look at how positive I am. Look at like la 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 whatever. And it's like, okay, well, that's not how it is in real life. It's like, oh, false advertising. That's why I just like was like, I'm just putting it all out there. After I took a break, I was like, fuck this. This is stupid as shit and it's fake. Which is fine for some people. That's totally fine. They love it. Okay, that's great. Have that then. You can have that. Like, but I don't want that. A big mental change for me was South America and Asia because I finally felt like home or like okay, this makes sense. And it's like when my body started turning back on again because I was just completely I'm like detached and didn't like feel safe in my body because I also had like a soul braid. Um, so soul braid is like when three other spirits will filter into your spirit because you've endured like so much trauma that like your spirit just couldn't go on, so other ones will come in and help you. And I still have a soft spot on my head, on the top of my head from when I was like two, and I cracked my head on the back of the van floor when I jumped out to go to the coffee shop, to go to Brouhaha in Delaware on an icy puddle. I remember, I just like, I heard a crack and I blacked out, and then I came back to, I was crying in the coffee shop. And then, so like, in that book that I have on the brain, on the pineal gland, what is his name? Something P. Henry or whatever. That So when you're a baby and you have a soft spot, you're still open to source, you're still open to God. But as your skull like fully forms and fuses, then the connection, slowly closes, and then you're in 3D density. So it's like that's what people will say, like, oh, you have like spiritual amnesia, like when you're born you forget about the other side, you forget all of your akashics and all of your spiritual awareness. So mine never closed though. Mine has always been open. And people will call me like aloof or insensitive or whatever. That's completely not the case. Completely not the case. I may dissociate because I don't want to associate with you or the situation or the energy because it's negative and toxic. Um, narcissists will never understand that because all they do is point the finger at other people and they never take any accountability for their shit or their problems. I'm like, yeah, I had a fuck ton of problems, but I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't share my story because there would just be a ton of drama from all directions and like no like real help. So I had to try and make it through my 20s on my own, just like I did in my teens. And everybody will be the first people to say, no, I did everything for you, no, I made you, no, I did this for you and that for you. Okay, just be quiet for a minute and think about all the things that I did for you that I've never brought up. Okay? I've brought shit up, but there's so much more that just be real. Some people can't be real. Like, they're just too far gone. And from God's perspective, that's sad. Okay? Because every human is God's child. And so you're actually doing not only yourself a disservice, but you're offending God by not choosing love. By choosing negativity, you're choosing, your hell or your devil or your Satan or whatever. That's actually the temptation. Is the temptation to just like completely be negative and like hateful, just to like go around like Trump and just I get to do whatever and be whatever and just spread negativity and just low vibes everywhere. There's a difference between divine rage and divine anger and then just being an asshole. And people will call me all of the negative things in the world. It's like, okay, are you a white person in America? Have you ever been out of the country? Like, what does your social history look like and stuff? You know what I mean? It's like most of these people haven't gone through anything, or they like aren't attractive or magnetic. So I'm like, you're not gonna get it, you know. But I get everybody because it's like, yeah, I feel that. I've been through all the things. It's like ups and downs. And I've helped people like when they're down. I help them get up. I'm not saying other people haven't helped me either. I'm just saying. Like people that don't know me or whatever, it's like, okay, why are you talking? Like if I talk about somebody, it's like, okay, I have a valid point here. Like it's like actually like relevant and important, okay? It's not just like fun gossip time. I'm like, okay, what the fuck's going on here? You know what I mean? It's like for like a higher cause or like for a higher like need, okay? Because a lot of these people are just gonna go around and think, I'm so great, I'm so great, I'm so great, okay? You may or may not be, like, okay, if you're so great, then why do you have so much mental illness? And like, you're actually miserable, but you're hiding that with your social media and stuff. Or if we show mental illness, why are you glamorizing it? If you want to talk about, issues, why don't you talk, really actually do it and go full in and be deep about it and show the whole thing so you can actually show healing? I don't know. Maybe they don't have the luxury to do that. I don't know. But if you think about the psychology of technology and humans and what it's done to mental health and psychology of collectives all over the world, you know, what impact has that made? Is it positive or negative? Why is technology like a monopoly where there's only like three platforms? Okay, that's what the 2020 Supreme Court case was about. And like Matt Gates spoke in that. It was the top 5 tech CEOs, and it was all talking about how tech is the gold rush, how tech is the monopolies, like the Andrew Carnegie's. But people don't realize that. They don't know that. Because it's like, if you control the social media platforms, if you control the internet or whatever and censor people, like in 1984, you're controlling the world and you're controlling thoughts and you're influencing actions. I mean, I can confidently say I've been and I am the only sane one in the family on both sides who actually has clarity, a higher consciousness, and an activated heart. And I've always been that way. And that's why both sides of the family, it's like, well, yeah, Star's here, except now it's not. You know? Even in my friend groups, I'm like, well, I mean, there's a big difference of like when I'm there and when I'm not. And like, I don't know. I've like always tried to help my friends. I think that's what friends are. And it's like they would help me back, they would also do like other shit. But like, you know what I mean? It's like I was always like solid. I'm like, I'm not like doing anything like bad to you on purpose, like you're doing. You know what I mean? Like I never try and like intentionally hurt my friends, but they do that to me. So it's like, well, when I went through my life review, I had to like find like my anger or my rage so that could stoke the fire and bring it up and out. Because I had a lot of dense trauma that had like solidified and all of my chakras and everything was off. Because I never stood up for myself. And so, like, all of that compounded trauma, I was like a volcano exploding. It's like everybody wants to try me from all angles all the time. Like, how would you feel? But people don't have empathy, especially if you look like me. Shit. Okay, I'm done with this podcast right now. La 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 la. Uh, uh, uh. So what's everybody's favorite? Oh shit, no, I don't want to do that. Favorite Thanksgiving dish? This is like so annoying. Okay. Okay.